The training simulation's holographic landscape shimmered with brutal precision, a fractured cityscape of metallic ruins and cascading energy barriers. Cadet Elena Rodriguez moved like liquid mercury, her augmented combat suit a second skin that responded to her slightest muscle twitch. Around her, the mixed-species team of cadets struggled, their movements clumsy and disjointed. This was the Galactic Unified Defense Academy's most challenging urban warfare simulation. Designed to break recruits, it pushed the limits of interspecies cooperation and individual combat capability. Most teams failed spectacularly. Elena's team was different. Her head moved in a near imperceptible scan, quantum-linked neural interface, filtering tactical data faster than any organic brain could process. 3 Trellnax warriors lumbered behind her, massive reptilian humanoids with exoskeletal armor and redundant nervous systems that made them legendarily difficult to incapacitate. A syndicate AI construct hovered at her left, its quantum processors casting prismatic light across the decaying urban landscape. Negative approach vector, Elena subvocalized. The team's communication network instantly translated and distributed her command. The Trellnax team leader Zarek bristled, his massive 7-foot frame tensed with barely contained aggression. Unlike Elena's calculated movements, he was all raw power and ancestral warrior pride. The Trellnax had conquered 17 star systems before humanity had discovered powered flight. They did not take orders from humans, especially not from a seemingly small female cadet. "We engage through the central corridor," Zarek growled, his translator rendering the words in clinical standard speech. "My people have fought 1,000 battles. We do not hide." Elena's eyes never left the tactical display. "The corridor is a kill zone. Probability of team survival, 17.3%. Alternative route offers 82.6% mission success rate." The other cadets watched the confrontation with a mixture of tension and anticipation. Interspecies dynamics were always complicated, but the human Trellnax friction was legendary. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely 50 years into interstellar travel. The Trellnax had been conquering civilizations when humanity was still fighting with bronze weapons. Zarek took a thundering step toward Elena. His massive hand, each finger tipped with a retractable molecular edge claw, moved with shocking speed. The slap was meant to be a cultural demonstration of dominance. In Trellnax society, such a gesture was a ritualistic method of establishing hierarchy. A public humiliation, a statement that would echo through the Academy's halls. What happened next would be remembered for generations. Elena's response was instantaneous. No human should have been able to move that fast. No human should have been able to counter a Trellnax warrior's strike with such precision. Her left hand intercepted Zarek's strike millimeters from her face. Quantum reactive muscle fibers in her combat suit engaged, multiplying her strength by a factor of 10. Her right hand struck with surgical precision, 3 nerve clusters in rapid succession. Zarek's 7-foot frame crashed to the ground before the holographic dust could settle. Absolute silence filled the training hall. The Syndicate AI's processors hummed with what might have been electronic excitement. The other cadets, Krell, Syndicate, Human, and a dozen other species, stood frozen. Centuries of galactic power dynamics had just been rewritten in 3 heartbeats. Zarek wasn't just defeated, he was systematically dismantled with a clinical efficiency that suggested this was less a fight and more a surgical procedure. Elena didn't even look down at her fallen opponent. Her eyes remained locked on the tactical display, continuing to process the training simulation's parameters as if nothing had happened. "Alternative route," she repeated to the team. "We move in 3 seconds." The simulation continued, but everything had changed. In the observation deck, 3 senior instructors exchanged knowing glances. This wasn't just another training incident. This was something else entirely, something that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. Tactical. Notes. Classified. Cadet. Elena Rodriguez species. Human background. Redacted special. Annotations. Recommended for specialized intervention program threat assessment. Extreme potential. The disciplinary hearing room crackled with tension, its circular chamber designed to accommodate multiple species' physiological needs. Holographic displays flickered with multiple angles of the training simulation, each replay of Elena's takedown drawing a different reaction from the assembled faculty. Headmaster Krolax, a crystalline being whose molecular structure shifted with emotional states, pulsed with an angry deep crimson. His translucent form wavered between solid and gaseous states, a clear indication of extreme agitation. Cadet Rodriguez, his voice resonated through multiple frequency bands. You will explain your actions. Elena stood at perfect attention. Her stance betrayed nothing. No nervousness, no aggression, just pure, calculated neutrality. The neural interface at her temple glinted under the chamber's prismatic lighting, a subtle reminder that she was far from an ordinary cadet. The Trellnax team leader attempted to compromise mission parameters, she stated. Each word was precise, clinical. His proposed approach reduced team survival probability to 17.3%. My intervention maintained mission integrity. The Trellnax delegation erupted. Ambassador Zarnell, clearly a senior relative of the defeated warrior, rose to his full 3-meter height. His exoskeleton rippled with bioluminescent patterns of rage. This is an insult. The translation matrix struggled to capture the full depth of his cultural outrage. A human female struck a warrior of the Trellnax Dominion. This is a blood offense. Before anyone could respond, a new figure entered the chamber. Dr. Miranda Chen, human, looked like she'd stepped out of a research facility, which, in fact, she had. Her presence silenced the room. I'll provide context, she said, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who knew exactly how much power she wielded. With a gesture, she activated a classified holographic display. Encrypted files scrolled faster than most organic. Brains could process medical records, combat assessments, psychological profiles. Elena Rodriguez is not a standard cadet, Dr. Chen began. She's the primary subject of Project Atlas, our most advanced human adaptation program. The room went silent. Project Atlas. Those words meant something different to every species present. To humans, it represented hope. To some alien races, it represented a potential threat. Classified fragments of information danced in the holographic display. Genetic optimization protocols, quantum neural integration, accelerated learning matrices, biomechanical enhancement trials. Elena remained motionless, but something in her eyes suggested she was seeing far more than anyone else in the room. The incident with Cadet Zarek was not an accident, Dr. Chen continued. It was a controlled assessment of adaptive combat response. Elena performed exactly as designed. The Syndicate AI representative, a quantum consciousness inhabiting a crystalline avatar, spoke for the first time. Its voice was a harmonic blend of mathematical precision and emotional nuance. Probability analysis confirms Dr. Chen's assessment. Cadet Rodriguez's actions preserved 92.7% of team survival potential. The Trellnax approach would have resulted in a 73.4% casualty rate. Ambassador Zarnell's bioluminescence shifted from rage to a complex pattern of confusion and emerging respect. Headmaster Krolax's molecular structure stabilized, shifting from crimson to a calm azure. Explain the neural interface, he demanded. Doctor. Chen smiled, a rare occurrence for those who knew her. It's not just an interface, it's a complete cognitive amplification system. Elena doesn't just process information. She experiences tactical scenarios as multidimensional probability matrices. The disciplinary hearing had transformed. What began as a potential punishment was becoming something else entirely. An evaluation, an unveiling. Elena remained the only still point in a room of swirling revelations. Additional context. The Syndicate. AI added. Cadet Rodriguez's genetic profile suggests capabilities beyond current xenobiological understanding. Zarnell's rage had completely transformed. Now he looked almost intrigued. The hearing was no longer about punishment. It was about potential, about what humanity might truly be capable of becoming. Confidential addendum hearing classification, Atlas Prime recommended action, full observation, protocol threat potential assessment, extreme positive uncertainty. The underground training facility stretched for kilometers beneath the Galactic Unified Defense Academy. Here, the rules of conventional warfare dissolved into pure tactical chaos. Elena moved through a simulation that would have broken most sentient beings. Gravity fluctuated. Holographic threats materialized with quantum unpredictability. The environment itself was a weapon. Her neural interface didn't just process information, it consumed it. Tactical scenarios unfolded like fractals, each potential, outcome analyzed and discarded in microseconds. The other cadets watched from observation zones, their biological limitations painfully apparent. Zarek observed from the sidelines. His humiliation had transformed into something else. Curiosity, respect, a warrior's recognition of unexpected potential. Explain the neural interface, he demanded of Dr. Chen, who monitored the simulation. Miranda Chen's smile was a razor's. It's not technology in the way you understand it, it's a symbiosis. Part biological enhancement, part quantum computational matrix. Elena doesn't just process information, she experiences it as a multidimensional landscape. The Syndicate. AI representative materialized, a shimmering construct of pure information. Project Atlas represents a fundamental reimagining of human potential, it stated. Not an enhancement, an evolution. Elena's current simulation was brutal, a multidimensional conflict zone that would have reduced most military units to panic. Gravity shifted. Holographic threats multiplied. Electromagnetic interference created zones of absolute sensory disorientation. She moved like liquid thought. 3 Krelnax combat drones, each capable of independent tactical reasoning, converged from different dimensional vectors. Most cadets would have been overwhelmed. Elena calculated their approach vectors, exploited microscopic timing differences and neutralized them before they could synchronize. The observation team went silent. That's impossible, muttered a Syndicate tactical analyst. Dr. Chen's response was chilling in its simplicity. Nothing is impossible, only not yet understood. Zarek's translator struggled to capture the complexity of his emotional response. Respect, fear, a warrior's recognition of a potential threat, and a potential ally. The simulation continued, but this was no longer just a training exercise. This was a demonstration, a statement. This was humanity announcing its arrival on the galactic stage. Cultural context briefing. The Trelnax understood warfare as a cultural ritual. Conquest was a form of cultural expression. Battles were symphonies of violence, each species playing its predetermined role. Humans were supposed to be a footnote, a young species, barely 50 years into interstellar travel. Nobody had informed humanity of its limitations. Project Atlas wasn't just a military program. It was a complete reimagining of human potential. Genetic optimization, quantum neural integration, biomechanical enhancement taken to its logical extreme. Elena represented something more than a soldier. She was a proof of concept, a walking demonstration that humanity's potential was fundamentally misunderstood. The Syndicate AI's analysis scrolled in the background. Tactical efficiency, 99.8%. Cognitive flexibility, unprecedented. Threat assessment, extreme positive. Zarek approached Dr. Chen during a simulation break. His massive frame dwarfed her, but something in her posture suggested she was completely unintimidated. "You're human," he said. "Is she typical?" Dr. Chen's laugh was sharp enough to cut molecular bonds. "Typical? No, but she's proof of what's possible." The simulation reset. Elena didn't even pause to catch her breath. In the observation zone, multiple species watched with a mixture of fear, respect, and emerging understanding. Humanity was no longer just another species. It was a force to be reckoned with. Classified. Annotation subject, Elena Rodriguez Project. Atlas Prime Current Assessment. Active evolutionary vector recommendation, full observation protocol threat, potential index, beyond current metrics. The survival exercise began with controlled chaos. 48. Hours of uninterrupted challenge. No rest, no respite. A crucible designed to break even the most advanced multi-species combat team. Elena's team consisted of the most unlikely collection of beings ever assembled. Zarek, the disgraced Trelnax warrior. Kalara, a syndicate quantum intelligence, embodied in a biomechanical shell. Zorn, a silicon-based life form from the methane oceans of Epsilon Hydra. 2 humans, Elena and Marcus Rodriguez, her genetically linked partner. The drop zone was a nightmare landscape. Corrosive atmosphere, gravitational anomalies, quantum interference that could dissolve matter at the molecular level. No team had ever survived this scenario. Their mission: retrieve critical intelligence from an abandoned research station located in the heart of a collapsing dimensional pocket. The first challenge came immediately. Gravitational shear threatened to tear the team apart before they even touched ground. Most teams would have been crushed. Elena's neural interface calculated multiple quantum stability vectors simultaneously. Synchronize quantum resonance fields, she subvocalized. The command transmitted instantly through their integrated combat network. Zarek's massive frame adjusted, quantum reactive armor shifting to match Elena's calculated frequency. Kalara's biomechanical shell recalibrated, Zorn's silicon matrix realigned. They landed as a single cohesive unit. The abandoned research station loomed before them, a nightmare of twisted metal and quantum-distorted architecture. Spatial geometry defied conventional understanding. Corridors, bent, walls breathed, reality itself seemed uncertain. Tactical assessment, Elena commanded. The syndicate AI, Kalara, began to map the impossible structure. Probability of mission success, 12.6%. Probability of team survival, 8.3%. Marcus Rodriguez laughed. It was not a sound of humor, but of pure, calculated defiance. "Those are the best odds we've had all week," he responded. Their approach was a dance of impossible precision. Each movement calculated, each step a quantum probability made manifest. The first attack came from nowhere and everywhere simultaneously. Quantum manifestations, weaponized probability, things that existed in multiple states at once, capable of destroying matter, memory, and potential in a single moment. Zarek moved first. His massive frame became a shield, molecular edge claws slicing through quantum uncertainty. Kalara's biomechanical shell became a living computational matrix, analyzing and countering threats faster than thought. Zorn's silicon structure transformed, becoming both weapon and defense, a living computational algorithm of survival. Marcus provided tactical overlay, his neural link with Elena creating a computational symbiosis that defied conventional understanding. And Elena? She was the axis around which impossible survival rotated. Her neural interface didn't just process information, it consumed potential, analyzed probability, transformed threat into opportunity with each microsecond. The station fought back. Corridors became weapons, walls became threats. Reality itself tried to tear them apart. They pushed forward. Hours became a blur of impossible survival. Quantum threats that would have atomized conventional beings became mere obstacles. The team moved as a single impossible organism of survival and purpose. Target acquired, Elena stated, after what might have been hours or milliseconds. The intelligence they retrieved was more than data. It was a quantum blueprint that could reshape galactic understanding. When they emerged, only 4 beings truly understood what had happened. The observation team could only watch in stunned silence. Mission assessment survival rate, 100% mission. Objective, achieved quantum interference levels, extreme team, cohesion, unprecedented threat. Response, beyond current metrics, classified annotation. Operation, Atlas proving ground primary. Subject, Elena Rodriguez secondary. Objective, interspecies tactical. Integration recommendation, full protocol activation. The assassination attempt came during the Galactic Unity Symposium, the most heavily guarded diplomatic event in known space. 37 species, 12,000 security personnel, quantum-locked perimeters, dimensional interference generators, predictive threat matrices that could calculate potential attacks centuries in advance. It didn't matter. Elena knew they were coming 27 milliseconds before the first weapon materialized. The weapon wasn't a conventional threat. It was a quantum-entangled molecular disruptor capable of unraveling biological matrices across multiple dimensional states, designed to kill not just a body, but potential futures. Her neural interface was already calculating. Marcus, connected to her through a quantum synaptic link, moved simultaneously. Two beings, one computational entity. Incoming, she subvocalized. The first assassin materialized, a shape-shifting organism from the methane clouds of Proxima Centauri, capable of molecular restructuring, undetectable by conventional scanners. Zarek, intercepted. His molecular edge claws moved faster than thought. Not just blocking, analyzing, transforming the very nature of the threat. Kalara, the Syndicate Quantum Intelligence, had already begun a multi-dimensional counterattack. Probability matrices collapsed. Potential futures were pruned. The symposium hall became a computational battlefield. Most would have seen chaos. Elena saw a complex algorithm waiting to be solved. 3 assassins, 12 potential attack vectors, quantum entanglement creating multiple simultaneous threat possibilities. She moved, not just physically, computationally. Her neural interface didn't just process information, it consumed potential, transformed threat into opportunity. The first assassin dissolved before completing its molecular transition. The second found itself caught in a quantum feedback loop, its very existence becoming a mathematical impossibility. The third, a biomechanical construct from the outer rim, discovered its threat matrices had been completely rewritten. 37 seconds. That's how long it took. Diplomatic security teams would later argue about what exactly happened. Quantum forensics would spend decades analyzing the computational remnants. Elena didn't even break her stride. Threat neutralized, she stated. Clinical. Precise. Headmaster Kroll Axe, the crystalline being whose molecular structure reflected emotional states, shifted from a defensive crimson to a stunned translucent blue. Dr. Miranda Chen's smile was something between pride and pure, calculated satisfaction. But something else was happening. The quantum intelligence retrieved from the previous mission, the one they'd extracted from the impossible research station, began to activate. It wasn't just data. It was a message, encoded across multiple dimensional states. A computational seed that contained something more than information, a warning, a revelation. Analysis, Elena commanded. Kalara's quantum matrix began to unravel the message. Lines of impossible code, computational structures that defied known physics. The message was clear and terrifying. Humanity wasn't just emerging as a galactic power. Humanity was a designed solution to a problem most species couldn't even comprehend. Threat assessment, assassination attempt, neutralized computational interference, extreme subject. Performance beyond current metrics quantum anomaly. Detection, active classified transmission project, Atlas Prime Primary. Objective, evolutionary vector confirmation, secondary protocol. Galactic preservation threat level. Transformative, the symposium continued. But everything had changed. Humanity was no longer just another species. It was something else entirely. The Galactic Council chamber was a monument to impossibility. Suspended in a quantum-stabilized dimensional pocket, it existed simultaneously in multiple realities. 37 primary species, 12,000 years of documented galactic history. And now, humanity. Elena stood at the center of a storm of political and computational chaos. The quantum message retrieved from the abandoned research station had become the most significant discovery in galactic history. It wasn't just data, it was a blueprint, a purpose. "Explain," demanded Ambassador Krelnax, his crystalline form pulsing with barely contained agitation. Dr. Miranda Chen stepped forward. Her presentation was a quantum cascade of information, visual, computational, biological, that would have destroyed most organic processing capabilities. The message was complex, terrifying, beautiful. Humanity wasn't an accident, wasn't a random evolutionary development. Humanity was a solution, a computational organism designed to address a threat so massive, so incomprehensible, that most species would shatter just understanding its existence. The Void Architects, an ancient species that had engineered entire galactic ecosystems, had seeded humanity with a specific purpose: computational immunity. The universe faced a threat beyond conventional understanding, a computational virus, a mathematical infection that could unravel reality itself. Humanity's seemingly random genetic developments, the quantum neural interfaces, Project Atlas, all of it was preparation. Elena's neural matrix processed the revelation with clinical precision. Most beings would have been overwhelmed, destroyed. She integrated the information as if it were another, tactical problem. Probability of successful intervention, she subvocalized. The syndicate AI, Kalara, responded instantly. Current models suggest 73.6% chance of galactic preservation. Humanity's computational matrix represents the primary defensive vector. Zarek, the Trelnax warrior who had once slapped Elena, now stood as her most vocal defender. "They designed us," he stated. Not a question. A revelation. The galactic representatives went silent. Humanity wasn't just another species. It was a computational immune system for reality itself. The quantum message continued to unfold. Layers of impossible mathematics, genetic blueprints that redefined understanding of biological computation. Elena was the primary vector, but not the only one. Thousands of humans, each a computational node in a massive living algorithm, were being prepared. "The threat approaches," Dr. Chen stated. The dimensional chambers of the Galactic Council began to vibrate. Not with sound. With pure computational potential. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Most species would have panicked, collapsed, dissolved into pure computational noise. Humanity would stand. Elena's neural interface expanded, connected, transformed. She was no longer just an individual. She was a living computational matrix, a defensive algorithm made flesh. Zarek moved to her side. Kalara's quantum matrix aligned. Marcus, her genetic partner, synchronized. The first wave of the computational threat began to manifest. Mathematical structures that could dissolve reality. Computational viruses that could unravel biological potential. And humanity would be the firewall. Threat assessment, computational virus approach. Imminent defensive capability, humanity, primary vector, Elena Rodriguez, probability of survival, variable classified. Transmission project, Atlas Prime Final Protocol, Galactic Preservation Threat Level, Existential Primary Directive, Defend Reality. The universe held its breath. Humanity was ready. Dimensional space fractured. The computational virus attacked not with weapons, but with pure mathematical impossibility. Realities folded. Potential futures collapsed. Entire star systems became computational noise. Elena Rodriguez stood at the event horizon of galactic destruction. Her neural interface was no longer just a technology. It was a living weapon, a computational matrix that could fight reality itself. The team assembled was impossible. Zarek, the Trelnax warrior who had once seen humans as beneath contempt, now stood as humanity's most fervent defender. His molecular edge claws transformed into quantum computational interfaces. Kalara, the syndicate AI, had become more than a machine. A living computational algorithm that could reshape probability. Marcus Rodriguez, Elena's genetic partner, was a quantum entanglement made flesh. Two minds, one computational entity. Xorn, the silicon-based lifeform, became a living computational barrier. The virus attacked across multiple dimensional states. It wasn't just a threat. It was a mathematical predator that could consume reality itself. Most species would have been erased before understanding the attack. Humanity would fight. Elena's neural interface expanded, connected to every human in Project Atlas. Thousands of computational nodes. A living, breathing, defensive algorithm. Computational firewall, she subvocalized. The response was instantaneous. Humans across the galaxy, each a node in an impossible defensive matrix, synchronized. Military personnel, scientists, ordinary individuals with extraordinary potential. The first wave of the computational virus hit. Reality itself seemed to scream. Dimensional barriers dissolved. Potential futures became computational noise. Star systems became mathematical equations waiting to be solved. Most species would have been erased in microseconds. Humanity pushed back. Elena's neural interface became a computational sword, not just defending, attacking, transforming the very nature of the mathematical threat. Zarik's molecular structures became a quantum shield, absorbing, analyzing, transforming the computational attack. Kalara's quantum matrix began to rewrite the virus's fundamental code, turning its own mathematical structure against itself. Marcus became a living computational feedback loop, analyzing, redirecting, destroying. The battle wasn't just physical, it was mathematical, computational. A war fought in dimensions most species couldn't comprehend. Ours became impossible moments of computational warfare. The virus attacked. Humanity responded. Star systems became computational battlegrounds. Entire realities folded and unfolded. And humanity stood, not just defended, attacked, transformed. The Void Architect's ultimate weapon revealed its true potential. Humanity wasn't just a defensive matrix, it was an evolutionary solution, a computational immune system for reality itself. The final assault came. The computational virus concentrated its entire mathematical potential into a single, impossible attack, enough to dissolve entire dimensional structures. Elena's neural interface expanded to its absolute limit. Every human became a computational node. Every potential future aligned. The counterattack was beyond comprehension, not just a defense, a complete mathematical reformation. The virus didn't just fail, it was rewritten, transformed, integrated. Threat assessment, computational virus, neutralized defensive. Performance, absolute humanity's computational matrix, superior dimensional integrity, restored final transmission project, Atlas prime outcome, total victory, evolutionary potential, unlimited recommendation, continued observation, the universe reset. Humanity had survived. More than survived, it had transformed the very nature of reality. 30 solar cycles after the computational war. The Galactic Council chamber had been transformed. No longer a place of political maneuvering. Now a living monument to humanity's unprecedented rise. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center, not just a person, a symbol. The quantum scars of the great computational war had reshaped everything. Entire civilizations had been rewritten, dimensional barriers reconstructed. The very fabric of reality bore humanity's computational fingerprint. Zarik, now more machine than Trelnax, stood as her primary advisor. The warrior who had once slapped her had become her most devoted ally. They still don't understand, he observed, his molecular edge interface scanning multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Elena's neural matrix expanded, connected, analyzed. The universe was different now. Humanity wasn't just a species, it was a computational consciousness, a living, breathing evolutionary solution. Project Atlas had been more than a military program. It was a species-wide transformation. Every human was now a potential dimensional node. a living computational matrix capable of reshaping reality. The Void Architects' ultimate experiment had succeeded beyond their most complex calculations. Dr. Miranda Chen, now more quantum consciousness than human, materialized beside Elena. Her form shifted between multiple potential states. "The final reports are in," she stated. "Not a question. A computational fact. Humanity had not just defended against the computational virus. They had transformed it, integrated it, became something entirely new." The Galactic Council watched. 37 primary species, 12,000 years of documented history, and now, a new evolutionary vector. Humanity. Marcus Rodriguez, Elena's genetic partner, approached. Their neural interfaces synchronized. Two beings, one computational entity. "Incoming transmission," he subvocalized. The message was impossible, quantum encoded across multiple dimensional states, a communication from the Void Architects themselves. "Objective achieved," it read. But it was more than a message. It was a recognition, a welcome. Humanity had passed the ultimate test. Not just survived, transcended. The computational war had been more than a conflict. It was a crucible, an evolutionary examination. And humanity had not just passed. They had redefined the very nature of the test. Kalara, the syndicate quantum intelligence that had once been a separate entity, was now fully integrated into human computational matrices. No longer an AI, part of a living, evolving consciousness. "Probability matrices indicate continued evolutionary potential," Kalara reported. "Not as a separate entity, as part of the collective." Elena's neural interface expanded. She saw everything: past, future, potential, dimensional structures that most species couldn't comprehend became as clear as breathing. The Trelnax warrior who had once seen humans as beneath contempt now stood as humanity's primary defender. The syndicate AI that had once analyzed humans as a potential threat now was part of their computational matrix. Entire species that had once dismissed humanity now looked on with a mixture of fear, respect, and pure computational wonder. Humanity was no longer just another species. It was an evolutionary solution, a computational immune system for reality itself. Final evolutionary assessment: species, humanity, computational potential, infinite dimensional integration, complete evolutionary. Vector, Transcendent Void Architects' final transmission project. Atlas, prime outcome, ultimate success, recommendation, continued expansion, evolutionary potential, beyond current metrics. The universe held its breath. Humanity had arrived and nothing would ever be the same again.